To the rub after the snub. China does not roll out the customary red carpet staircase for the president, forcing him to use the emergency exit, and Donald Trump doesn't waste a minute noticing it.
You know, it's interesting with the president, because I saw that yesterday with the stairs. He went to Saudi Arabia, and the top people didn't greet him, right? He went to Cuba, and Castro, the brother, was not there to greet him. And I said to myself, you know, if that happened, I'd land. I'd hear he's not there to pay respect to the country, not to him, to pay respect to our country. I would say, thank you very much, fellas. That's okay. Close it up. Boom. Let's go back to Washington. I would.
Trump on this is absolutely right. What the Chinese did was inexcusable, but it shows their contempt for him. It was a slap in the face. One Chinese official chuckled and said he had to leave the rear end of the plane. He used a more graphic description of it. And so Trump should have done what Reagan did in the past. If something's not done right, walk away. But it shows that the world is becoming more dangerous when the Chinese treat that president like that.
And Bruce, it's this whole idea of soft diplomacy, which President Obama has sort of championed, versus hard diplomacy, which Donald Trump stands for. You look at this nuclear explosion that North Korea set off this week. I mean, this is in direct defiance of President Obama's nuclear test ban proposal. So all of the soft diplomacy doesn't get us a lot.
Here in the United States, sometimes you can feel lazy and think, you know, we're so big, we don't have to really know anything about other people. If you see the environment destroyed, it's not because that's necessary for development. It's usually because we're being lazy and we're not being as creative as we could be.
Come on, Mr. President. President Obama calling Americans lazy twice, and he did it during a town hall overseas. But should a U.S. president ever criticize U.S. citizens, especially in a foreign country? Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling. Welcome to Cashing In. Our lazy Cashing In crew this week: Mercedes Schlapp, Gina Loudon, Jessica Tarlov, and Kristen Soltis Anderson. Welcome, everybody. I feel like I'm outnumbered. Gina, why are you so lazy? And should the president be calling you and I lazy, especially from overseas?
Yeah, allow me to translate his lib speak here that is so regressive. He's really giving a socialist message here. He's trying to say that because America is a free market, if we were more regulated by the government, we'd somehow be cleaner. But the irony here, Eric, and the big fat lie from the left is that the actuality is that we are the freest country in the world, and we happen to be the cleanest country in the world. So he needs to get his facts straight.
So, Mercedes, we spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of money making sure our air is clean as can be. And meanwhile, China, Brazil, these countries overpollute. And remember, it's a global. You know, pollution is fungible. So if they're polluting there, we're breathing it here. Who's lazy here? Is it us or is it other countries?
Well, obviously, Obama is very upset. He's throwing a tantrum because of the fact that Congress has not moved forward on his very radical environmental agenda. He's moved forward, obviously, on so many of these regulations, especially on the coal industry, causing electricity prices to go up. So there's these big challenges for the president. So I think it's very easy for him to just point the finger at Americans saying, oh, we're not lazy, we're not picking up after ourselves, which I have to tell you, Eric, it's very insulting because as a leader of the free world, when you go abroad, you're representing every single American. And I think that it's unfortunate when he points the finger right at his own people. It's very discouraging, and I think it sends a wrong message abroad.
Very good. Jess, do you agree with the president? Are Americans lazy because, I don't know, we don't spend enough money on climate, on making sure the environment is safe and clean, or we don't understand other cultures enough? What is this all about?
Well, I'm going to give, since Gina said that he was speaking lib speak, I'm going to lib speak it now and say that I think that President Obama was being diplomatically lazy himself when he used that term. I think that the better term would have been easy, actually, and that because we have such a vast, culturally rich country here in America, that sometimes Americans don't travel abroad. We know that 46% of Americans don't have a passport. We also know that our passport is the 5th most expensive in the world, and that should be dealt with. So I think that if he had made that point to talk about how important it is for Americans to engage with others across the world, it would have gone down a lot better. As to the climate change issue, Mercedes is right. We do have all of these regulations, and Obama, he does want more. He wants us to become even greener. So while we're leading the way, there's still a lot of work to do, and, you know, he just signed his big climate pact. So I think he wanted to send that message home. But lazy, no, wow, that was the wrong word.
Yeah, Kristen, a little bit tone deaf on that, because I'm sure a lot of Americans on both sides of the aisle are a bit offended by being called lazy. We do a lot to clean our environment and other things.
Well, it's one of those things. So let's take this cleaning metaphor, where if you're a parent and you've got a kid whose room is messy, you can tell your kid, hey, you need to clean up your room. But if all of a sudden you're running around the neighborhood constantly telling everybody, oh, my kid is so terrible, and you're the kid, I mean, you're not going to like that, right? So I think of this as sort of like, it's one thing to say, look, we need to get more creative. We should be more innovative. We need to unleash innovation here in this country. Right now, there are lots of people that want to do things to promote clean energy, but there are 18 million layers of regulations you've got to get through to make it happen. Let's deal with that. Let's let people be creative here instead of hamstringing them with all kinds of regulation. But that doesn't, going overseas and just saying, well, we're just lazy. Lazy is absolutely the wrong word, and it's the wrong venue.
It was the wrong word, but there is more nuance to what he was saying. He did use the word creativity actually explicitly to say that he wants us to get more creative about what you're doing. You know, it is to a certain degree to take that extra step to, for instance, you know, recycle. I know that sounds like a reductionist way of looking at this, to compost, to use the right detergents, to live in a place that has solar panels, you know, building windmills. This takes money, creativity, and
but
vision.
a lot of it, too, it's not about laziness. It's because that stuff's very expensive.
Okay, Kristen, finish the thought, and then I'm going to bring it around.
Yeah, I mean, that's not laziness. The fact that everybody doesn't have compost piles in their backyards and solar panels on their roof isn't because America's lazy. It's because a lot of that's really expensive to do. And there's a perception that that's only for the elites. And I think sometimes the left wants to assume, well, everybody's just lazy because they don't have solar panels on their roof, instead of trying to make it so that it can be affordable. It's not tens of thousands of dollars, something that's only going to pay off over decades of time. We've got to make it cheaper if we want to make more people do it. It's not about laziness.
Let me bring up Gina and then Mercedes. Your thoughts on, let's talk a little bit about the regulation. There is an onus regulation. The EPA, there's been studies that show literally hundreds of billions of dollars the EPA costs businesses with overregulating. That would kind of fly in President Obama's face, and we're spending a lot of money with adhering to his regulations.
Yeah, and let's not forget, just like everything with this administration, this Obama-Clinton administration, a lot of this is pay to play. A lot of these contracts, these environmental contracts that are supposed to clean up the environment, go to their political friends for political favors. And a lot of these so-called environmentalist policies, like these wind farms and other things, are very lucrative for the people who actually get the contracts. Let's not forget that. But let's also consider the context, Eric. He made this comment in Laos. That is such a slap to everything free and American and the American way. And I think it's just more of what Obama does in the case of leading from behind.
All right, Mercy, final thought.
I just got to tell you, you know what makes American lazy? When the federal government is so involved in their lives from cradle to grave in our businesses that they don't allow American creativity and American innovation to be unleashed.
There you go.
How many firing up the Trump base with this? To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Donald Trump, as you can imagine, and his campaign firing back with the candidate suggesting on Twitter that Mrs. Clinton's comments will hurt her in the polls. He attended yesterday's Values Voter Summit in Washington, and today his running mate Mike Pence will be speaking. They are working to energize religious conservatives, a constituency with its doubts about Trump's bona fides. Kristen Fisher joins us now live at the Values Voter Summit in D.C. Kristen, what can you tell us?
Well, Uma, both Mike Pence and Donald Trump are expressing outrage over Clinton's remarks. This morning, Trump posted on Twitter, quote, "Wow, Hillary Clinton was so insulting to my supporters, millions of amazing, hardworking people. I think it'll cost her at the polls." And then his running mate, Mike Pence, said this while speaking to conservative Christians here at the Values Voter Summit.
The millions of Americans that are supporting my running mate were described in the most deplorable of terms. So let me just say from the bottom of my heart, Hillary, they are not a basket of anything. They are Americans, and they deserve your respect.
Now, yesterday at the Values Voter Summit, Donald Trump shied away from speaking about abortion, but Mike Pence did not. In fact, today Pence came out harder against abortion than he usually does during speeches on the campaign trail. He said a Trump-Pence administration will, quote, send Roe v. Wade to the ashes of history where it belongs, and it would end public funding for Planned Parenthood. Now, Pence also addressed another issue that's very important to the conservative Christians in this crowd, and that is the Supreme Court seat recently vacated by the late Justice Antonin Scalia. Today, Pence assured them that Trump would appoint a judge who would continue to advance Scalia's legacy, though some conservatives still have their doubts.
I think this is Donald Trump's biggest day, and he will be ignored from henceforth.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
We better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry to laugh.
Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
But I want the cameras to span the room. Go ahead, fellas, watch. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. They don't turn them. Go ahead, turn them. Look, turn the camera. Go ahead. Turn the camera, ma'am. Turn the camera. You with the blonde hair, turn the camera. Show the room. Go ahead. They don't turn them. What about, hey, you in the center, why don't you turn your camera? Show them how many people come to these rallies. Turn them. Go ahead, turn them. Go ahead. Thank you. That's the first time they've ever done that. Thank you. That's the first time. Amazing. Amazing. Because what's going on is amazing. And I'm telling you, it's